The autumn rain pelted against the windows of my small apartment in downtown Seattle, creating rivulets that distorted the city lights below. I sat cross-legged on my worn couch, laptop balanced precariously on my knees, scrolling through Instagram with the kind of masochistic determination that comes from knowing you're about to see something that will hurt. There it was, my sister Rebecca's latest post, a stunning flat lay of cream and gold wedding invitations, artfully arranged with sprigs of eucalyptus and baby's breath. Can't believe we're only 3 months away from the big day. So grateful for all our loved ones who will celebrate with us, all our loved ones. The words stung more than I expected them to. I zoomed in on the photo, searching for any sign that maybe, just maybe, one of those pristine envelopes had my name on it. But deep down, I already knew the truth. 3 months until the wedding, and I hadn't received an invitation. My phone buzzed. A text from my best friend, Mia. Hey, just got my invite to Rebecca's wedding. The RSVP card is gorgeous. Did yours come yet? I stared at the message for a long moment before typing back, must be delayed in the mail. The lie came easily. Too easily. But what was I supposed to say? That my own sister had deliberately excluded me from the most important day of her life? That our relationship had deteriorated so badly over the past 2 years that I wasn't even worthy of a courtesy invitation? I closed my laptop and padded to the kitchen, pouring myself a generous glass of wine. The apartment felt smaller tonight, the silence more oppressive. It wasn't always like this between Rebecca and me. We used to be inseparable. The Morgan sisters, everyone called us. She was only 18 months older, but she'd always acted like my protector, my guide through life's complexities. The shift started 2 years ago, the night I made the decision that changed everything. The night I chose my career over what Rebecca saw as family loyalty. Dad's company, Morgan Construction, had been struggling. He needed both his daughters to step up, to help save the family business. Rebecca had dropped everything: her job at a prestigious marketing firm, her apartment in New York, even her relationship with her college boyfriend. She moved back to Seattle without hesitation. But I couldn't do it. I had just been promoted to senior financial analyst at Preston & Associates. It was everything I'd worked for since graduation. The salary, the prestige, the clear path to partnership. I couldn't give it up, not even for family. You're selfish, Emma, Rebecca had said that night, her voice cold in a way I'd never heard before. You only care about yourself and your precious career. What about Dad? What about the family? It's not that simple, I'd tried to explain. I can help in other ways. I can invest. I can save it. She'd cut me off. When push comes to shove, you showed your true colors. Don't expect me to forget this. And she hadn't forgotten. Every family gathering since had been tense, filled with pointed comments and cold shoulders. Mom tried to mediate, but Rebecca's resentment ran deep. When Dad's company eventually stabilized, thanks in large part to Rebecca's marketing expertise and tireless dedication, she made sure everyone knew who had been there when it mattered. Now, as I sipped my wine and watched the rain streak down the windows, I wondered if this was it. If being excluded from her wedding was the final statement, you're not part of this family anymore. My phone rang, startling me from my brooding. Mom's picture flashed on the screen. I debated not answering, but guilt won out. Hi, Mom. Emma, sweetheart. How are you? Her voice was bright, too bright, the kind of brightness that meant she was trying to cover something up. I'm fine, just having a quiet night in. Oh, that's nice. Listen, I wanted to talk to you about Rebecca's wedding. My heart sank. Here it was. The conversation where my own mother would have to explain why I wasn't invited to my sister's wedding. I know things have been difficult between you two, Mom continued, her voice dropping to that careful tone she used when navigating between her daughters. But I've been talking to her, and I really think— Mom, stop. I couldn't bear to hear her make excuses. I saw the Instagram post. I know the invitations went out. I know I didn't get one. The silence on the other end stretched out, heavy with unspoken words. She's hurt, Emma. She feels like you abandoned the family when we needed you most. I didn't abandon anyone, I said, hearing the defensiveness creep into my voice. I made a choice about my career. That doesn't mean I don't love my family. I know that, sweetheart. And deep down, Rebecca knows it too. She's just stubborn, unforgiving, completely unreasonable. Emma. Mom's voice carried that warning tone from my childhood. What do you want me to do, Mom? Beg for an invitation to my own sister's wedding? Grovel for forgiveness for the crime of having career ambitions? No, of course not. But maybe you could reach out, try to bridge the gap, for the family. Always for the family. It was the Morgan way. Family first. Always. Except when it wasn't. Except when choosing yourself meant being cast out. I'll think about it, I lied. After I hung up, I found myself back on Instagram, torturing myself with Rebecca's wedding planning posts, the dress shopping photos with our cousins and aunts, everyone but me, the cake tasting with her bridesmaids, all laughing and toasting with champagne, the engagement party I hadn't been invited to, the bridal shower I'd learned about through social media, and then I saw him. In one of the photos from the engagement party, standing next to Rebecca with his arm around her waist, Daniel Chen, the groom-to-be, I'd never met him. Their relationship had blossomed during our estrangement, but I'd heard about him through the family grapevine. A successful tech entrepreneur, charming, devoted to Rebecca. In the photo, he was looking at her like she hung the moon. Something about his expression caught my attention. It wasn't just love, it was understanding, patience, the kind of deep knowing that comes from truly seeing someone. I wondered what Rebecca had told him about me, whether he knew about the sister who had chosen her career over family, who had betrayed the sacred Morgan Code. The next few weeks passed in a blur of work and willful ignorance. I threw myself into my projects, staying late at the office, taking on extra assignments, anything to avoid thinking about the wedding that was approaching without me. But reminders were everywhere. Mutual friends asking if I was excited about being in the wedding party. Relatives calling to discuss travel plans, assuming I'd be there. Each conversation was another small cut, another reminder of my exclusion. It was a Thursday evening when everything changed. I was working late again, the office empty except for the cleaning crew, when my phone rang. Unknown number, local area code. Hello? Emma Morgan? The voice was male, pleasant, unfamiliar. Yes, this is Daniel Chen, Rebecca's fiancé. I nearly dropped the phone. Oh, hi. I'm sorry to call out of the blue like this. I got your number from your mom. I hope that's okay. Is everything all right? Is Rebecca? She's fine, he assured me quickly. Actually, that's why I'm calling. I know this is unconventional, but I was wondering if we could meet. Just to talk. About what? There was a pause. About the wedding. About family. About second chances. I found myself agreeing before I could think better of it. We arranged to meet the next day at a coffee shop downtown. Neutral territory. That night I barely slept. What could Daniel want? Was this Rebecca's way of adding insult to injury, sending her fiancé to officially uninvite me, or was it something else? The next morning, I arrived at the coffee shop 15 minutes early, nervous energy coursing through me. I ordered a latte and found a corner table, watching the door. When Daniel walked in, I recognized him immediately from the photos. Tall, well-dressed, with an easy confidence that suggested he was comfortable in any situation. He spotted me and smiled, making his way over. Emma, thanks for meeting me. Up close, I could see why Rebecca had fallen for him. He had kind eyes and an open face, the type of person who seemed genuinely interested in the world around him. I have to admit, I'm curious about why you wanted to meet, I said after he'd ordered his coffee and settled across from me. I'll be direct, he said. I love your sister. I want to marry her and build a life with her. But I've watched her over the past 6 months as we've planned this wedding, and there's a sadness in her that she tries to hide. It comes out when she's addressing invitations, when she's choosing bridesmaids, when your mom accidentally mentions your name. I felt my throat tighten. Rebecca made her choice. She doesn't want me there. That's what she says, but I don't think it's what she really wants. He leaned forward, his expression earnest. Emma, I've heard her side of the story. About the company, about your dad, about the choice you made. And I understand why she's hurt. But I also understand why you made the decision you did. You do? He nodded. I started my first company when my family wanted me to join my uncle's restaurant business. It caused a rift that took years to heal. The thing is, sometimes being true to yourself looks like betrayal to the people who love you, but that doesn't make it wrong. I stared at him, this stranger who somehow understood what my own sister couldn't. Why are you telling me this? Because I want Rebecca to be truly happy on our wedding day, and she won't be. Not completely, if you're not there. She's too proud to admit it, too hurt to make the first move. But I see it in her eyes every time your name comes up. So what are you suggesting? Come to the wedding. I laughed, but it came out bitter. I wasn't invited, remember? I'm inviting you now. You can't do that. It's her wedding too. Actually, he said, a small smile playing at his lips, I can. We agreed when we started planning that we each had veto power over the guest list. She vetoed my college roommate who got too drunk at every event. I'm using my power to unveto you. She'll be furious. Maybe at first, but I know Rebecca. Under all that anger is hurt, and under that hurt is love. She misses her sister. She's just too stubborn to admit it. I shook my head. You don't know her like I do. She doesn't forgive easily. Showing up uninvited would just make things worse. What if I told you I've already talked to some of the family? Your mom, your Aunt Susan, your cousin Maria. They all want you there. They're willing to support this. Support what exactly? A reconciliation. A chance for you and Rebecca to move past this before it becomes permanent. Emma, do you really want to look back in 20 years and realize you missed your sister's wedding because you were both too proud to bend? The question hit harder than I expected. I thought about all the milestones we'd already missed in each other's lives. The promotions uncelebrated, the heartbreaks unshared, the inside jokes that had faded into memory. What exactly are you proposing? I asked finally. Come to the rehearsal dinner. It's 2 weeks before the wedding, small family only. Give her a chance to see you, to remember what you mean to each other. If it goes badly, if she really doesn't want you at the wedding, I'll respect that. But at least you'll have tried. And if she kicks me out on sight, then I'll handle it. Trust me, I've gotten pretty good at managing Morgan family dynamics. His smile was warm, conspiratorial. Besides, I have a feeling that once she sees you, once you're actually in the same room, the love will outweigh the anger. It always does with family. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe that showing up would magically fix everything, that Rebecca would see me and remember all the years of sisterhood that came before the rift. But I knew my sister. I knew her pride, her stubbornness, her ability to hold a grudge. I need to think about it, I said. Of course. The rehearsal dinner is in 2 weeks. Here's my card. Call me when you decide. And Emma? He stood preparing to leave. Whatever happened between you two, whatever choices you made, you deserve to be at your sister's wedding. Don't let anyone, not even Rebecca, convince you otherwise. After he left, I sat in the coffee shop for another hour, turning his words over in my mind. The rain had returned, drumming against the windows, and I watched the people hurrying by, all with their own destinations, their own problems, their own difficult choices to make. That night, I called Mia. I need to tell you something. I didn't get an invitation to Rebecca's wedding. What? Emma, no. Why didn't you tell me? Pride, I guess. The same thing that got me into this mess in the first place. I told her everything. About the rift, about Daniel's visit, about the impossible choice he'd presented me with. You have to go, she said immediately. To the rehearsal dinner, at least. Emma, she's your sister. Your only sister. Whatever happened, whatever was said, that bond is bigger than any fight. What if she hates me for it? What if showing up just makes everything worse? Then at least you'll know you tried. Living with regret is so much worse than living with rejection. Trust me on this. She was right, of course. The next morning, I called Daniel. I'll come to the rehearsal dinner, I said without preamble. But I need you to know I'm terrified. Good, he said, and I could hear the smile in his voice. That means it matters. I'll send you the details. And Emma, thank you. I know this isn't easy, but I truly believe it's the right thing. As I hung up, I caught my reflection in the office window. I looked tired, worn down by 2 years of family discord. But beneath that, I saw something else. Hope, maybe. Or just the stubborn Morgan determination that had gotten me into this mess in the first place. 2 weeks. I had 2 weeks to prepare myself to face my sister, to try to bridge a gap that had seemed insurmountable. 2 weeks to find the words to explain that choosing my career hadn't meant choosing against my family. 2 weeks to hope that love really could outweigh anger, that sisterhood could survive even the deepest wounds. The rain continued to fall over Seattle, washing the city clean, and somewhere across town, my sister was planning a wedding, a celebration of love and family and new beginnings. Whether I'd be part of that celebration remained to be seen. But for the first time in 2 years, I allowed myself to hope that maybe, just maybe, there was still room for me in my sister's life. The invitation might never have come, but perhaps that didn't matter. Perhaps what mattered was showing up anyway, fighting for the relationships that shaped us, refusing to let pride be the final word in our story. Daniel had offered me a chance, a possibility of reconciliation. Now all I had to do was find the courage to take it. As I looked out at the Seattle skyline, I made a promise to myself. Whatever happened at that rehearsal dinner, I would face it with grace. I would speak my truth, offer my love, and let Rebecca decide what came next. It wasn't much of a plan, but it was a start. And sometimes, a start is all you need to change everything. The 2 weeks passed in a blur of anxiety and second-guessing. I must have written and rewritten my speech to Rebecca 100 times, each version feeling more inadequate than the last. How do you apologize for choosing yourself? How do you explain that loving your family and pursuing your dreams aren't mutually exclusive? How do you bridge 2 years of silence in a single conversation? The morning of the rehearsal dinner, I woke at 4 a.m., my stomach churning with nerves. The dress I'd chosen, a modest navy blue sheath that Rebecca had once complimented years ago, hung on my closet door like a question mark. Was I really going to do this? My phone buzzed with a text from Daniel. The dinner starts at 7. Come at 6:30. I'll meet you outside. Another text. This one from Mom. I'm so glad you're coming, sweetheart. It's going to be okay. I wished I shared her confidence. The day crawled by. I tried to work, but my mind kept drifting to potential scenarios. Rebecca's face when she saw me, the words she might say, the scenes she might make. By 5 p.m., I gave up any pretense of productivity and went home to get ready. As I drove to the restaurant, an upscale Italian place in Bellevue that had always been Rebecca's favorite, my hands shook on the steering wheel. The autumn evening was crisp and clear, the kind of Pacific Northwest perfection that made you forget about all the rain. It felt like a sign, though of what, I couldn't say. I parked around the corner, not ready to commit to the restaurant's valet. At 6:25, I walked slowly toward the entrance, each step feeling monumental. Daniel was already there, waiting outside as promised, looking handsome in a charcoal suit. Emma, he said warmly, reaching out to shake my hand. You came. I almost didn't, I admitted. I've been sitting in my car for the last 10 minutes trying to talk myself into this. But you're here. That's what matters. He glanced toward the restaurant. She doesn't know you're coming. I thought it would be better as a surprise. Less time for her to build up walls. Or less time for her to tell me not to come. That too. His smile was sympathetic. Your family's already inside. Your mom is practically vibrating with nervous energy. Your dad keeps checking his watch. They all want this to work, Emma. And Rebecca? She's tense. More than usual pre-wedding stress would warrant. I think part of her has been waiting for this, even if she won't admit it. I took a deep breath. Okay, let's do this before I lose my nerve. Daniel opened the door, and we stepped into the restaurant's warm interior. The private dining room was toward the back, and I could hear familiar voices drifting down the hallway. Mom's laugh, Aunt Susan's distinctive cackle, Dad's rumbling bass, the sound of my family gathering without me, at least until now. Ready? Daniel asked quietly. I nodded, not trusting my voice. He led the way into the private dining room. The conversation continued for a moment before gradually dying as people noticed me. I saw the progression of reactions. Mom's face lighting up with hope and worry. Dad's expression of surprised relief. Aunt Susan's knowing nod. And then, finally, Rebecca. She was standing near the head of the table, wine glass in hand, mid-conversation with our cousin Maria. She looked beautiful, as always. Her dark hair swept up in an elegant chignon, wearing a cream-colored dress that made her look like she'd stepped out of a bridal magazine. When she saw me, her entire body went rigid. The wine glass trembled in her hand. The room fell completely silent. Hello, Rebecca, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Her face cycled through emotions so quickly I could barely track them. Shock, anger, hurt, something that might have been longing, before settling on cold fury. What are you doing here? Her voice was ice. I invited her, Daniel said, stepping smoothly to Rebecca's side. His hand found the small of her back, a gesture of support and calm. She's your sister, Rebecca. She should be here. You had no right, Rebecca hissed, but her voice wavered. Actually, I did. We agreed. Don't. She held up a hand, her engagement ring catching the light. Don't quote our agreements at me. Not about this. Not about her. The room was so quiet I could hear my own heartbeat. Everyone seemed frozen, afraid to move or speak and shatter the moment further. Rebecca, I started, I know you don't want me here. You're right, I don't. She set her wine glass down with excessive care, as if she was afraid she might throw it. You made your choice 2 years ago, Emma. You chose your precious career over family. Why should I want you here now? Because I'm your sister, I said simply. Because whatever happened between us, whatever mistakes I made, that hasn't changed. I'm still your sister, and you're still mine. Sisters show up, Rebecca shot back. Sisters sacrifice. Sisters don't abandon family when things get hard. I didn't abandon anyone, didn't you? Her voice rose. Dad was drowning, Emma. The company was failing. We could have lost everything. The business, the house, their retirement, everything our parents worked for their entire lives. And where were you? In your corner office, counting your stock options. That's not fair. Fair? Rebecca laughed, but there was no humor in it. You want to talk about fair? Fair would have been both of us sharing the load. Fair would have been you taking a leave of absence, or working remotely, or literally any compromise that showed you gave a damn about anyone but yourself. Rebecca, that's enough. Dad's voice cut through the tension. He stood slowly, his weathered face showing every one of his 62 years. We're not doing this again. Not tonight. Oh, now you want to stop it? Rebecca turned on him. Where was this energy 2 years ago when she walked away? You and Mom just let her go, made excuses for her, while I gave up everything. Nobody asked you to give up everything. I interrupted, finding my voice. You made that choice. Someone had to, but it didn't have to be everything or nothing. The words burst out of me. 2 years of frustration finally finding voice. I offered to help financially. I offered to work weekends. I offered to take on the accounting remotely, but that wasn't enough for you. You wanted me to quit my job, move back home, and prove my loyalty by destroying everything I'd built. That's not love, Rebecca. That's control. The room gasped collectively. Rebecca's face flushed deep red. Control? You think this is about control? God, you really don't get it, do you? It was never about the help, Emma. It was about showing up, being present, choosing family over ambition for once in your life. I can love my family and have ambition. Can you? Because from where I'm standing, you've done a pretty poor job of the first part. Rebecca! Mom's voice was sharp with warning. What, Mom? Are we all going to pretend like everything's fine now? Like she can just waltz in here after 2 years and act like nothing happened? Rebecca's voice cracked slightly. She missed everything. Every Sunday dinner, every holiday, Dad's surgery. I was there for Dad's surgery, I said quietly. You sat in the waiting room for 2 hours and then left for a conference call. That's not being there, Emma. That's checking a box. The accusation hit like a physical blow because there was truth in it. I had taken that call. It had seemed so important at the time. A major client, a critical negotiation. But standing here now, seeing the pain in my sister's eyes, I couldn't even remember what the call had been about. You're right, I said, and the room seemed to inhale collectively. I did take that call, and I did prioritize work over being fully present. I've made mistakes, Rebecca. A lot of them, but so have you. Excuse me? You cut me out completely. No calls, no texts, no chance to make things right. You decided that one choice, one admittedly selfish choice, negated 25 years of sisterhood. You became judge and jury and decided I was guilty of not loving our family enough, and the sentence was exile. You exiled yourself? No. I made a choice you didn't agree with. You made it an exile. Daniel cleared his throat softly. Perhaps we could all sit down. I'm not sitting down with her, Rebecca said, but her voice had lost some of its edge. She looked tired suddenly, older than her 28 years. I can't do this, Daniel. I can't pretend like everything's okay when it's not. I'm not asking you to pretend, I said. I'm asking you to try, to give us a chance to be sisters again. Why now? The question came out almost plaintive. Why tonight? Why couldn't you have tried 2 years ago, or last year, or any time before my rehearsal dinner? Because I was proud, I admitted, and hurt, and stubborn. All the Morgan family traits that you inherited too. I told myself I was waiting for you to make the first move, that I was the wronged party. But the truth is, I was scared. Scared of facing your anger. Scared of admitting my mistakes. Scared of being rejected. So what changed? I looked at Daniel, who gave me an encouraging nod. Your fiancé called me. Told me that you were sad beneath all the wedding planning. Told me I was missing my chance to fix this before it was too late. And he was right. I've missed too much already, Rebecca. I don't want to miss any more. Rebecca turned to Daniel, her expression a mixture of betrayal and something else. Gratitude. Maybe? You called her? I did, he said simply. Because I love you, and I want you to be happy. Completely happy. And you won't be if this rift continues. You know that as well as I do. I don't know anything anymore, Rebecca said, sinking into a chair. The fight seemed to drain out of her all at once. I've been so angry for so long, I don't know how to stop. I took a tentative step closer. Maybe you don't have to stop all at once. Maybe we start small. Maybe we just start with dinner. Emma's right, Mom interjected, seizing the moment. We're all here. We're all family, and there's food getting cold. Can we just try? For one night? Rebecca looked around the room, at our parents, our relatives, Daniel, and finally at me. I don't know if I can just pretend everything's normal. No one's asking you to, I said. I know I hurt you. I know my choices felt like betrayal. And I know an apology doesn't fix 2 years of distance. But I'm here now, and I'm trying. Can that be enough for tonight? The silence stretched out, taut as a wire. Then Aunt Susan, God bless her, stood up and declared, "Well, I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm starving. And this drama is giving me a headache. Rebecca, honey, you can be mad at your sister and still eat breadsticks. The two aren't mutually exclusive." A surprised laugh bubbled out of our cousin Maria. Then Uncle Pete chuckled. The tension in the room began to fracture. "Leave it to Susan to put things in perspective," Dad said, a small smile playing at his lips. Rebecca looked at Daniel, who squeezed her shoulder gently. "It's your choice," he said quietly. "But for what it's worth, I think your sister is right. We can start small." Rebecca closed her eyes for a long moment. When she opened them, she looked directly at me. "Fine. You can stay for dinner, but I'm not promising anything beyond that. That's all I'm asking for," I said, relief flooding through me. "And you sit at the far end of the table. I'm not ready to— I need space." Of course. Slowly, awkwardly, everyone began to take their seats. I found myself between Uncle Pete and Maria, about as far from Rebecca as the table allowed. But I was here. I was at the table. It was a start. The servers began bringing out the appetizers, and conversation gradually resumed. It was stilted at first, everyone carefully avoiding any topic that might reignite the conflict. But as the wine flowed and the food arrived, the familiar rhythms of family dinner began to assert themselves. I caught Rebecca looking at me several times throughout the meal. Each time she quickly looked away, but I saw something in her expression that gave me hope. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it wasn't pure anger either. It was something more complicated, a mixture of hurt and longing and maybe, just maybe, the first stirrings of willingness to heal. Daniel proved to be a master of keeping conversation flowing, asking Uncle Pete about his fishing trips, getting Aunt Susan to tell her infamous story about meeting Tom Hanks in a grocery store, encouraging Dad to share updates about the company. He was, I realized, exactly what Rebecca needed. Someone steady and kind who could navigate the choppy waters of our family dynamics with grace. "So, Emma," Maria said during a lull in conversation, "tell us about your work. I heard you got another promotion?" I felt Rebecca stiffen from across the table, but I answered carefully. "I did, yes. Senior Vice President now. It's challenging, but rewarding." "She's being modest," Dad interjected, pride evident in his voice. "From what I hear, she's the youngest SVP in the company's history." "Dad," I said softly, aware of Rebecca's eyes on me. "What?" "I'm proud of both my daughters. Rebecca saved the family business, and Emma's conquering the corporate world. Different paths, but both impressive. Here's to the Morgan sisters." Uncle Pete raised his glass. "May they both continue to succeed." There was an awkward pause before everyone raised their glasses. Rebecca lifted hers last, and barely, but she did lift it. As the evening progressed, I found myself relaxing incrementally. This wasn't a reconciliation. It was too early, too fragile for that. But it was contact. It was possibility. And after 2 years of silence, possibility felt like a miracle. During dessert, Daniel stood up. "Daniel," tapping his glass gently. "I know tonight has been unconventional," he began, earning a snort from Rebecca. "But I want to say something. Family is complicated. It's messy and painful, and sometimes it feels easier to walk away than to work through the hurt. But it's also precious. It's the people who knew you before you knew yourself, who share your history and your blood and your stubborn Morgan determination." He looked at Rebecca, then at me. "In 2 weeks, I'm marrying into this family. All of it. The joy and the dysfunction, the love and the conflict. And I want to start that journey with hope. Hope that wounds can heal, that sisters can find their way back to each other. That family can be stronger for having been tested." "Daniel," Rebecca said softly, a warning in her voice. "I'm almost done," he promised. "I just want to say thank you to all of you for being here tonight, for choosing family, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard." He sat down, taking Rebecca's hand. She let him, though her jaw was tight. As the dinner wound down, people began making their excuses to leave. I helped clear some plates, falling into old patterns of family cleanup. In the kitchen, I found myself alone with Mom for a moment. "Thank you for coming," she said, pulling me into a fierce hug. "I know it wasn't easy." "It's not over," I said into her shoulder. "She barely spoke to me all night. But you're here. You're both here. That's more than we've had in 2 years." She pulled back, cupping my face in her hands. "Be patient with her, Emma. And with yourself. Healing takes time." As I gathered my things to leave, I found Daniel by the coat check. "Thank you," I said simply, "for calling me, for making this happen. Thank you for being brave enough to show up," he replied. "I know tonight wasn't easy, but it was necessary. She still hates me, No, he said firmly. She doesn't hate you. She's hurt and angry and scared of being hurt again.